Setting you guys up. There we go. The Fog remake, 19 years later. There's a reason you don't remember this John Carpenter remake. It's something. It's definitely something. I saw this in the theater opening night. This was Deborah Hill's last produced movie. And I think that's a big reason why I saw it. Plus, I'm a huge fan of the original. So, Gene Wildecombe says, I did not see the remake. Tom Welling hates it too. Yes, he does, Chris. Yes, he does. No, the Fog remake wasn't good. Yeah, most people don't like it. Hey, Rick Michaels, man, I opened your gifts today. I recorded the latest drum box. So look for that in a couple days. And thank you, good sir. I will tell you right now, I'm looking at 2 of your items on my wall right now. Okay? You rock. Thank you so much. Man, those posters are awesome. Okay, so yeah, let me read through this a little bit. The Fog remake. Wow. One of the worst remakes ever made. John Carpenter's illustrious catalog of horror and non-horror classics has already seen 3 remakes: Halloween, Assault on Precinct 13, and this column's focus. Has only 3 of his movies been remade? I could have sworn there were more. And at least one more kind of sort of confirmed on the way, Escape from New York. Now, see, there's a loose remake of Escape from New York with Rona Mitra, Doomsday. And it's really good, actually. But it's got cannibals in it, so it's not really a remake, but it definitely has like an Escape from New York vibe to it. She even has like an eye patch like during a portion of the movie. So yeah, if you consider 2011's The Thing enough of a remake, notch another one on the bedpost, it makes sense. Carpenter's turned his no bullshit attitude into a masterful filmmaking style. And those listed titles harbor nostalgic admiration. We're probably closer than we think to seeing Brian Fuller's Christine remake for Blumhouse or a contemporary They Live, while Dwayne Johnson's Big Trouble in Little China sequel, God, please no, Jesus. I didn't even know about this. I'm reacting to it right now. Dwayne Johnson doing a Big Trouble in Little China, please no, please no. God, no. Jesus. Imagine Julia Ducournau's Christine should Fuller exit. Or what about if James Gunn booked a brief horror vacation away from the DCU for his take on They Live? Now that I could definitely get behind. Carpenter's brand of down and dirty storytelling mixed with societal commentaries makes his work perfect for generational updates, but they can't all be winners. Take 2005's woefully tragic The Fog, for example. Rupert Wainwright's disastrous shallow remake lacks the finesse of even a crusty barnacle attached to the underbelly of Carpenter's original. During a period of horror cinema inundated by remakes, The Fog asserts itself as one of the worst. The 2000s had a very show-don't-tell approach to horror filmmaking and leaned on grisly violence polarized by Saw, all exploited in their lowest forms throughout The Fog. Bless John Carpenter and the late Deborah Hill for serving as producers, but Wainwright and writer Cooper Lane do their salty source shanty zero justice. Some creative writing going on here. Carpenter's The Fog is successful because of the auteur's influence. Between his stronger emphasis on churchly greed, eerie musical score, and inabilities as a simplistic yet impactful visionary, viewers get plenty of bang for their buck in 90 minutes. Wainwright doesn't possess those qualities and relies on archaic horror templates without any investment.
What's up, guys? You are at the middle of the video. Don't go anywhere. There's still plenty of content ahead of you, but just wanted to break right here to say you are at Drumdums Extra, my second channel. If you like my main channel and you're not subscribed, I would urge you to subscribe to this channel, okay? Because this is where I do a lot of my horror updates and whatnot. I moved all that stuff over to here, and it's more of a live stream type feel. I am working really hard on this channel, just as hard as I am on the other channel. You'll see at least 3 or 4 videos a week, And most of it's like horror news, topical type stuff. Got some rankings on there and whatnot. The main channel's still the main channel, but this is more for this type of content. So anyway, guys, back to the video. And subscribe, damn it.
In an era where computer graphics were still advancing and some producers only valued horror as a gory inserts within a lax narrative, Wainwright's direction equates to background noise. There's nothing spectacular or signature about the filmmaker's approach, as recyclable as the plethora of 2000s horror films plagued by the same churned out doldrums. I think that's all I need to read on that. But man, the Fog remake, like everything that the original does right, the remake does wrong. It's not interesting. That's part of the problem with the movie. It's kind of annoying to watch it. It almost feels like a TV movie. They tell way too much of the backstory with the what do they call them, the settlers or whatever from 100 years ago, and then they make it into kind of a love story, which, like, what are you doing? The original Fog was so freaking creepy and scary because they pretty much stuck to that recipe. They kept it creepy. There was no sense of love, even though there was, you had Jamie Lee Curtis and Tom Atkins hooking up, but that's all it was. It wasn't, let's linger on the love potential of these two characters. It wasn't about that at all. It's about revenge. At the end of the day, that's all. It's about anger and rage and revenge. And so to this day, it's probably my favorite ghost story because the ghosts look so real in the movie. I think Carpenter directed them perfectly. He actually made them look like real people. You couldn't see through them. And I think that's what made it work. We didn't need to be shown that they were ghosts. We already knew that they were ghosts because that's what the story told us. And I think that just made it creepier. The only other movie that I can compare to The Fog in terms of the ghosts that gets it right, that's similar to The Fog, is We Are Still Here with Barbara Crampton. That movie came out, I think, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And it handled the ghost in a very similar way that The Fog did. And the movie feels like something of the 80s. It doesn't feel like today. Beautifully filmed movie. I think some of the producers behind You're Next had something to do with We Are Still Here. But, and they're very sparing about how often they show the ghosts. And when they do, they look like you could reach out and touch them, Those are my favorite types of ghost movies. I don't like ghost movies where it's a CGI ghost and you can walk through it. There's so many of these movies. Take the Haunted Mansion remake that came out earlier. Like, if you're going to show a ghost in a movie, unless you want it to be a comedic type of thing, and it better be damn entertaining, then why even do it? Why even do it? Make that ghost scary as possible. And I'm not saying it's not possible to have a CGI ghost, but I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of a single one that was creepy to me. But We're Still Here and The Fog are the only two ghost movies where you saw the ghost that scared me. Now, I think there are ghost movies where you don't see the ghost. It's about what you don't see that can be really creepy. But yeah, that's another whole story. But yeah, and I think they committed that crime in the remake. That's one of the many crimes that movie made. I think the character archetypes, they just felt of the day. And every movie, all these characters in the mid-2000s were interchangeable. You could have taken the characters from The Fog and put them into Sorority Row, or maybe even put them in, say, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. All the characters just felt interchangeable. Whereas back in the 80s, there was a certain flavor there, but they still felt like they belonged to that movie, that property. And so I think that was a big problem with a lot of the remakes in the 80s. I think studios, they wanted to capitalize on the remake craze, that they would just hire any writer and any director to do it, and we'd often get a dud. Whereas I think if they made a Fog remake today, I think there would be a lot more TLC put behind it. I think they would find a really capable director, because like, can you imagine freaking Ari Aster doing a Fog movie and how great that would be, or even Robert Eggers, there's a lot of young directors. Hell, even the Talk to Me directors. Imagine them doing a Fog movie. I think there's a great list of directors that could handle a Fog remake today, but I think it's sad that we wasted that opportunity back in the mid-2000s, and I think it doesn't even get thought of these days. Why remake it? We tried before, and it ended up being one of the worst freaking remakes of all time. So, yeah. I'll answer this one, David Thorson. Is The Fog worse than the Prom Night remake, in your opinion? Well, you know what? I just read an interesting thing about the Prom Night remake. The filmmakers of the Prom Night remake, and maybe it wasn't called Prom Night at first, they had never even seen the original Prom Night. And so I think the Prom Night remake started out as a different movie, and maybe I'd be far more forgiving of the movie. And so I think the movie had already been written and maybe filmed, and then they decided, oh, let's capitalize on this. It's the remake craze right now. Let's go ahead and call it Prom Night. And even if it's not called Prom Night, it's still a really bad horror movie. Horror movie. If you wanted to call it like a teeny bopper type thriller, it's still bad to me, but I would be a little bit more forgiving. But I just watched that movie again recently too, and Jesus, it's fucking horrible. So, I think I might prefer the Fog remake a little bit more, if I'm being honest. I think I might prefer it a little bit more.